Whew, man, can't imagine what else I'd rather be doing after a hard day's work. Time to draw my most favorite blue blur of all time.
2 hours later.
And there, finally done. And what the?
Yes. Hands. The bane of almost every Sonic artist's existence. If you were to ask a majority of fans what the most difficult part of a Sonic character's body is to draw, chances are it's the hands. But fear not, my Sonic brothers and sisters watching this video, because today we're gonna fix that. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know how to draw several common hand poses that you see in the Sonic franchise and have a better understanding of how to draw hands on Sonic characters. But before we get started, my name is Jake, or Jake Creative, and I post a variety of Sonic related art videos. So if you're like me and you like the artsy side of Sonic, then please subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any future videos. And without further ado, let's get started. So I figured the best way to show you guys how I draw hands would be to take a couple different hand poses here and just draw them and explain my process. And by the way, all these hands are coming from Tyson Hess's character sheets for the opening cutscene of Sonic Dream Team. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to check these out. I think they're really helpful character sheets. I've been referencing them a lot. So let's start with kind of this basic hand pose right here. I feel like the best way with starting to draw hands is to know how to draw your basic shapes, because especially with cartoony hands, like with Sonic characters, their hands are really just made of some basic shapes. The way I would start drawing this hand pose is starting with the palm, and the palm is essentially kind of like this rounded square almost. And I say almost because, as you can see, it's not entirely symmetrical. You can kind of see where the finger crotches are here, that the hand is at a bit of an angle. So I drew the top of the shape slanting downwards this way. Next, I usually like to start with the thumb, and the way I would draw this thumb, I would start by just adding like a circle right here, and then from this circle is where I would branch out and draw the shape of the thumb. So I would go and do something kind of like this. The thumb is essentially an oval pretty much, and it'll come down and connect to the bottom of the palm right there. Next, I would move on to each of the fingers up here. I usually like to start with the index finger. The index finger is just going to kind of shoot up, come around like so, and then come back down right about there. Now, another way that I've seen people draw hands, and I actually used to do this too, is people will sometimes draw just a straight line, and they'll either draw like a circle or maybe like a line right here, and then continue the line to show where the different joints are in the finger. Because if you look at your finger, you can see the lines that mark where like the knuckle is, like where the finger kind of bends. So if you find that helpful, you can do it that way. I used to do it this way, but as I've continued to draw over the years, I've kind of just decided to stick with just the actual shape of the finger. So now let's move on to the middle finger, and this is where it's important to keep in mind the size of each finger, because each finger is not sized the same, as you can see. With the middle finger is the tallest finger, and then the index and the ring fingers are usually around the same size. The pinky is the smallest of the 4 fingers up here, and then obviously we have the thumb. So since the middle finger is a bit taller, I'm gonna make it extend just a little bit past the index finger, and then just come down like so. And now with the ring finger, you can see that the ring finger is slightly behind the middle finger in this hand pose. Since the hand is sort of turned at an angle, you're not going to see the entire pinky finger unless this hand pose was a bit more of like a stretched out hand pose. So we're gonna have the ring finger start about where the index finger starts. And then we're just gonna draw the ring finger coming down like so. And then finally we have the pinky, which will end about 3/4 of the way up compared to the index and ring finger. And then once again, part of the pinky is hidden. So we're gonna probably start around like right here. Go about yay high, like right there. And then bring the finger down like so. Now, as you can see, I kind of made the palm a little too wide. So if that happens, no problem. Just erase where you last drew it. And then you can just kind of come down like so. And then just kind of make any small adjustments that you need to make. All right, so there's the fingers. And now, as you can see, there's some lines on the hand. And if you look at your own hand, you can kind of see like where these lines are. If you were to ask me what these lines are called, I would not be able to tell you. I don't really know much about anatomy to that extent, but we're just gonna add those in. So we have one that curves right here where the thumb is, and then we have another line that shoots out right there. And then finally, I like to end off with the cuffs of the gloves. So what I like to do is I like to draw the first fold right here, and I actually draw the full shape like so. Then I'm gonna do the second fold, which will start a little bit further down like so. And then finally, we'll end it off with the end of the arm. Then I'll just go through and erase all of the extra lines that I don't need. Now, if you're on digital like I am, and you're also a bit finicky in terms of how your hands are supposed to look, then you can always zoom in, get up close, and make any small refinements or adjustments that you want to make. And voila, there you go. You have your basic hand shape. So that's the easy one out of the way. Now let's move on to something that's a bit more challenging. All right, next let's try this hand pose right here, where you have the index finger pointing upwards like so. And it's the same angle as the last hand pose. So again, I would probably start with drawing the palm. This time I'll probably draw it a little bit more slanted like so. And then once again, draw the thumb. So we have this shape that comes out like so. And then the thumb is a bit more tucked in with this hand pose. So you don't want it to stick out too far. So I'd probably have it come down like right here. The knuckle's gonna meet right where this corner is usually. And then we'll just have it connect to the palm like so. And then once again, we're gonna draw the index finger, which is gonna shoot up about yay far with the knuckle right here, and then make it extend just a little bit further out like so. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky, because now all of the fingers aren't pointing out, they're now rolled up into the hand. So it gets a little bit tricky, and you really kind of have to keep practicing this in order to really get the hang of it. So next, we'll move on to the middle finger. So the middle finger, we're just gonna draw a line sticking out like so here. And then we're gonna bring the middle finger down like this. And then usually I like to draw another line parallel over here, just so I can kind of gauge like how wide the finger is. And then we're just gonna add a little shape right there to show that the finger is rolled in. And honestly, I think with this hand pose, the middle finger is probably the toughest out of all the fingers here, because now with the ring finger and pinky, they're essentially just like little rectangles that are overlapping with the middle finger. One thing to keep in mind with this sort of pose too, since the hand is sort of at an angle, the pinky is going to be a bit more hidden behind the ring finger than the ring finger is behind the middle finger, if that makes sense. Basically, the ring finger is gonna look a little bit skinnier compared to the ring finger because more of the pinky is hiding behind the ring finger. And then now we're just gonna draw the rest of the palm like so. And again, I drew the palm a little bit too tall, but I think it's still a good starting point in terms of drawing Sonic character hands. So again, just make any changes that are necessary as you go. And then we also have those lines like with the earlier pose. They're just a bit more hidden, especially this line right here because the fingers are rolled down. And then we have another line right there. And then pretty much the same deal with drawing the cuffs with the last pose. I would still do the same, draw the first fold first, all the way through, draw the second fold right after, and then draw the arm sticking out. Now we're just gonna zoom in. We're gonna go back and erase some of the little minor details that we don't need, erase some of these extra lines. And sometimes with Sonic characters, and it usually depends on the artist's style, but you can kind of see there's a bit of, I don't know what you would call this, like a gap or like a little hole that kind of shows like where the cuff is meeting the hand. So again, this usually depends on the artist and the art style. Some artists do this, some of them choose not to have it, but in this case, it is there, so I'm just gonna draw that in real quick. It's really nothing too hard, just draw the line sort of sticking out a little bit and then draw another curved line down here. I'm just gonna fix the index finger up just a little bit, and there you go. There is a pointing upwards hand pose for you. Again, it may take a little bit getting used to in terms of drawing the rolled fingers right here. Like even I'm just noticing now, I probably could have drew these going down just a little bit farther, but as long as you keep practicing, you'll start to get a better feel for how long the fingers are, what the different finger proportions are, and you'll continue to get more and more comfortable with it. So now we're gonna move on to a similar hand pose to this one, but we're gonna add a bit of a twist here. This time, instead of the finger pointing upward, the finger is now pointing outwards towards us. So now we're dealing with a little bit of perspective here. So now this kind of pose right here, honestly, I don't even think I would start with drawing the palm of the hand. For this particular hand pose, I would start by drawing an oval shape for the pointing out finger, which in this case is the index finger. So this oval is going to represent basically this top half of the index finger right here. And then this is a case where sometimes actually drawing a line will actually kind of help with drawing the rest of the finger here. So the way I would draw the rest of the finger is I would kind of just start drawing it down like this. And then I'm actually gonna make a curve right here. So now we have our index finger. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna draw the thumb next. And the thumb is gonna kind of curve out like so. We're gonna bring it back over here. And where the knuckle is, you can draw it a little bit more sharp compared to the actual end of the thumb here. The end of the thumb is more rounded compared to where the knuckle is, so that's something you should keep in mind. Now, let's move on to the rolled over fingers. So I'm gonna start with the middle finger. We're gonna draw the knuckle, which is essentially kind of like a hill shape. And then we're just gonna draw the finger rolling down like so. And then it's actually helpful to draw a little bit of a curve right here to show where the knuckle is. We're gonna draw the finger curled up like this. And we're gonna draw a little line right here to show that the finger is rolled like so. All right, so next we'll just draw the ring finger, which again, since the hand is at a bit of an angle, the ring finger is not gonna look as wide as the middle finger because the middle finger is overlapping a little bit. So we'll just come down like this, group it around like so. And then finally, we'll draw the pinky, and the pinky knuckle isn't going to look as upwards pointed as the ring finger or the middle finger. So we'll just bring it down like so, and then have it overlap just like that. Now we're gonna draw a little line right here because this is where the palm is. The palm, as you can see, is sticking out just a little bit, not too much. And now with the cuff, it's a bit similar to the other hand poses that we've done, but still a little bit different. So we're just gonna have the cuff come about right there, kind of where the thumb sort of meets the index finger here. And one thing I forgot to mention when drawing the index finger, that's something to keep in mind. Since the finger is sort of pointing outwards, you can see that the top of the index finger is a bit wider than the base. So like if I were to draw a horizontal line like this for the pointing part of the finger, as opposed to down here, you can see it's just a little bit wider. That's because since the finger is sort of pointing at us a little bit, it's going to look a little bit bigger because that's how perspective works. And then we're gonna draw the arm, and similar to the index finger, the arm's gonna kind of taper a little bit. It's not that noticeable because only a little bit of the arm is drawn, but you can see that the two sides of the arm aren't parallel. It's not like two parallel lines. It's more like one's slanted this way, the other's kind of slanted this way. Now just go through, erase the extra lines like we've done before, and we'll add that little extra line right here. And then there's actually another line right here that you'll sometimes notice with hand poses. There's usually another folded line that sort of shows that the finger is folding. And there you go. Look at you go. Look at you drawing pointing outwards fingers with perspective. Look at you. Look at how much you're improving. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. All right, so now let's move on to the next pose. And this sort of hand pose is usually one that tends to scare a lot of people, I feel like. I am, of course, talking about the fist. So now we're really leveling up here. Now all of the fingers are folded in and closed like so. I know it initially looks pretty intimidating, but just bear with me. We got this. We got this. Don't worry. So first, if I were to draw this fist, I would start with this curved line where the hand meets the cuff right here. And then you can really go one of two ways. You can either start with the thumb or you could start with the index finger. I kind of do both at the same time in a weird way. Like if I were to draw this, I would probably start out with the index finger first. So the index finger is going to come out like this, and then the knuckle's going to come down about yay far. And we're going to draw the finger folding downwards like so. Then we're going to draw the finger folding in like this. So far you should have something that looks like this. Now we're gonna draw a line. There should be a bit of a bend right here, and it helps with drawing this line right here that shows the finger folding in. And now remember how I said you kind of can work on both the index finger and the thumb at the same time? This is where I would quickly transition to drawing the thumb. So we're gonna draw this line coming down like so. And then we're gonna draw a curved line coming out like this. And you can draw the thumb knuckle line here if that'll be helpful. I'm gonna curve like this. And it's gonna come and meet the line that we started drawing first. And then we're gonna bring this out just a little bit more. And we're gonna draw a little curve right here, and then we'll draw a little bit more detail with the finger folding like this. So there you go. There's our index finger and our thumb. So now let's move on to the other fingers. And these fingers, again, since they're kind of hiding behind the index finger, they're not going to be showing too much. So you essentially just start by drawing the knuckle sticking out like this, bring the finger down like so, and then have it meet the thumb right there. Next, let's move on to the ring finger. The knuckle's gonna hang down just a little bit further down, because as you can see, you have a bit of a line, a diagonal line going here. And honestly, you may find it helpful to actually draw a diagonal line like this, so you know where the knuckle is supposed to start. So we'll do that. Draw the ring finger, pointing down like this. It's almost like kind of drawing like overlapping diamonds, almost. Overlapping like rounded diamonds. And then finally, end it off with the pinky. And the pinky is gonna be the one that's the most hidden here based on the angle of the hand. And we're just gonna have a roll right there. Now with the cuff, it's actually going to be a bit more of a complete circle almost. Like with previous cuff positions, you kind of were just drawing like half of a circle in a sense. This time we're drawing like 3/4 of a circle. So we're gonna start the cuff up here. We're just gonna have it go around like so. We'll have it meet where the thumb is right there. And if you're doing this in a sketchbook as opposed to on digital, just keep in mind that you're gonna wanna sketch lightly, because if you're going back and erasing all these lines afterwards, it's gonna look kind of messy if you've been pressing really hard on the pencil and you have to go back and erase all these lines afterwards. It's gonna look pretty smudgy. And we'll just draw the other fold right here. And then we'll draw the arm. Once again, the lines of the arm aren't exactly parallel. As you can see, the top line of the arm here is slanting down a little bit, and then the bottom line right here is a bit more horizontal. And then as per usual, we're gonna erase some of the lines that we don't need anymore. Now, depending on certain art styles, you kind of have to make a creative decision as to whether or not you want to leave these lines. I know with the original hand pose, really just this portion doesn't connect and all the other fingers connect. You may find that sometimes it may look a little bit nicer if all the fingers don't connect like this. And then maybe for other times, you might find that leaving all of the fingers connected might look a little bit better. Maybe sometimes it's just one of them isn't and the other three aren't. At the end of the day, that's a bit of a stylistic decision that you have to make on your part. I think for this hand pose, I actually kind of prefer the fingers not completely connecting like this. I actually think it looks a little bit more clean in my opinion. So I'm gonna stick with this, and then we'll draw in the knuckle line for the thumb. Boom, there we go. There is your fist pose. All right, let's try one more. We're actually going to be drawing 2 hand poses for this one. I thought this pose of Sonic from Sonic and the Secret Rings is a really good hand drawing challenge because we got a lot of different things going on with the hands here. For starters, with the hand reaching out here is where you really got to put your knowledge of perspective to the test, because the hand is reaching out, so it's going to look bigger compared to the other hand in the back here. This time, all the fingers are not only reaching out, but also curling down, and the cuffs are a little bit different as well. And with the back hands, the fingers, instead of either being fully pointed out or fully folded in, they're actually sort of partially folded like this. And the hand this time is facing downward as opposed to upwards or to the side. So this is like the final boss level, I would say, in terms of drawing hands. So bear with me here. Also, I'm not going to draw the whole pose because we're just focusing on hands in this video. But if you guys want to see more tutorials like this, like with drawing certain body poses, you can let me know down in the comments below. And we're going to start with the front hand. So the way that I would start drawing this hand pose right here is I would start by drawing just a basic shape. It's gonna look kind of like a square, kind of not. In general, I would kind of think of it as like a bounding box of sorts that gives me a rough idea of how long the fingers are meant to be in this hand pose. And then we're also gonna draw a half circle right here to represent the cuff, which is probably the easiest part of this whole pose right here. So I'm gonna start with the index finger. So the index knuckle is probably gonna start around right here, and then I'm gonna draw the finger shooting outwards like so. And when fingers are pointing out like this, you saw this when we were doing that perspective pointing outwards hand pose earlier. I'm just gonna draw a circle that shows that the finger is pointing outwards. And then we're just gonna draw the finger coming back to the hand like so. And again, as you can see, since the finger is pointing outwards, the tip of the finger is going to look a little bit wider than where the knuckle is right here. So now with the middle finger, what I would do here is I would draw a little bit of a finger crotch right here, and then draw the middle finger sticking out like so. And again, the middle finger is longer than the index finger. So we'll have it come up, wrap around like so. Then once again, Add a little bit of a finger crotch right here. And if you want to, you can add like a little knuckle right here just to show where the knuckle is. So now let's move on to the ring finger. And to make sure I get this gap right, I would probably start by either drawing where the ring finger sort of folds down like this. And then I'm gonna draw this gap right here between the middle and ring finger. And also I'm not gonna actually draw the ring on the hand for this, just to not make it as complicated. And then we're gonna draw the finger up about here. And again, you can see I didn't exactly draw my basic shape that accurately. That's all right, we'll just adapt. And then we'll have the pinky start like right here and have it fold down like so. And then we'll just extend our basic shape that we drew like this. And then finally, I'm gonna draw the thumb. Gonna come down about yay far. Since the thumb is a bit more open as opposed to folded, it's gonna look a little bit longer. And then sometimes it might help to maybe draw just a little line right here to sort of show where the fingers are sort of folding down. This is supposed to be like where the palm is. And then as per usual, go in, erase the minor details. With the index finger, you may find it stylistically appealing to maybe draw like a little line right here to show that it's pointing outwards. That's really up to you. A little knuckle for the ring finger as well. Erase these lines down here. There you go. That is how I would go about drawing a hand pose like this one. So finally, let's talk about this backhand right here. In the context of this, where we're drawing the whole body, I might actually want to start with drawing the cuffs first. So we're gonna draw just a little curved line right here, and we're gonna draw a circle like so. Draw another overlapping circle. And again, you can also do this similar to some of the earlier poses where it's actually a bit more angular as opposed to circular. Again, this is dependent on the style that you're sort of trying to go for. So now we're gonna draw the shape of the palm. The palm is gonna look kind of, I don't know exactly what you would call this shape. It's almost like have an upside down apple shape, or maybe like kind of like some clay Play-Doh ball. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna draw the thumb, since the thumb is the finger that's in the foreground here. So we're gonna draw that usual arcing shape that you see with the thumbs. And then we're gonna draw the thumb itself. The thumb's gonna come out, I would say about this far. And then we're gonna draw another arcing shape right here. So as you can see, we're not connecting the thumb to the palm like we have in the past. For this pose, it's actually gonna kind of stop right here, because now when we move on to the index finger is gonna kind of run behind the thumb. We're gonna have it angle down like this, and we'll have it round off like so. I like to kind of do like an almost complete circle when fingers are sort of like half folded in like this, and then we'll just connect it behind the thumb like so. Now with the middle finger, there's a bit of a gap here. We're gonna draw a line right here, and the finger's gonna kind of fold down like this. It's gonna round out right here. Draw another line right there, and then another line that you kind of can't really see, but it's kind of sticking out diagonally like this. So basically you have the finger kind of divided into 3 segments here. 1, 2, and then 3. Similarly with the ring finger, again, we're going to kind of divide it into basically 3 segments. 1, 2 right here, and then 3. Have it sort of round off like this as an almost complete circle. Draw another segment right here, and then another segment right here. And again, if you're just starting out, it might be kind of hard to wing it like I'm doing right now. So you may find it helpful if you divide the fingers sort of in segments like this. I actually probably should have showed it this way when I started, but With complicated hand poses like this, where the fingers are sort of bent like this, it might be helpful to, again, divide them into segments. Usually the fingers on top right here will be divided into 3 segments. You have a base right here, a middle section, and then the fingertip. And then the thumb usually is divided into just 2 segments. You have the base of the thumb, and then the tip of the thumb goes right here. So now the pinky, as you can see, is kind of folding over itself like this. So the way I would draw this, draw a line right here, draw the pinky fingertip sort of folding up like this, and then just draw a line right there. So in general, you should have something that looks kind of similar to this. And then now you can just kind of go through, kind of refine the lines a little bit, and then go in, clean up the extra lines. And voila, ladies and gentlemen, you have some pretty cool looking hand poses here. Now, this is more so for those of y'all that are on digital. Sometimes you may accidentally draw a hand that's a bit too small. And if that's the case, you can always make it just a little bit bigger like this. Unfortunately, if you are going traditional with pen and paper, you can't exactly do this. So the only way to kind of fix hand poses like this is to just kind of use your best judgment and maybe just erase the fingertips. Maybe you kind of extend them like so, and then erase like the original lines that you had. With the sketchbook, it's kind of trial and error, but as you keep practicing, you start to get a better hang of things and sort of get a bit more used to drawing hands. And that is the key point right here, is to practice, practice, practice. You're not going to be an expert at drawing hands overnight, so you just got to keep practicing, keep trying different hand poses, and before you know it, you're going to be a hand drawing pro. Well, yeah, hopefully you guys found this little tutorial video helpful. If you guys did find it helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you guys want to see more tutorial videos like this one, let me know some other ideas that you guys want to see in the comments down below. And make sure you guys subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any future videos or live streams. And that's about it. See ya.